The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was a sight to see. It floated in the center of a space station the size of a small moon. The walls were made of crystal that showed the stars outside. Thousands of seats rose up in circles, and in those seats sat the representatives of 100 different species from across the galaxy. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the speaker's platform. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. Behind her sat the other members of Earth's delegation. They looked just as tired, just as beaten down. Honored members of the council, Sarah began. Her voice was steady, but those who knew her could hear the strain in it. Earth once again requests that our application for full membership be considered. A sound rose from the gathered aliens. It was not quite laughter, but it was close. The Vixari representative, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms, leaned forward. His name was High Counselor Torvan, and he had led the council for 300 years. Ambassador Chen, Torvan said. His voice was smooth like oil. This is the 47th time Earth has made this request. The answer remains the same. Sarah gripped the edges of the platform. With respect, High Counselor, Earth has met every requirement. We have contributed resources. We have sent our soldiers to fight in your wars. We have followed every rule and law. And yet, another voice cut in. Your species is still young. This came from the Krell ambassador. The Krell were massive creatures covered in thick scales. They had been members of the Council for 10,000 years. Humans have only been traveling between stars for 200 years. You are children. Children who have given everything to this council, Sarah replied. In the last war against the Void Raiders, human soldiers made up 40% of the ground forces. We lost 2 million people. The hall went quiet for a moment. Then Torvan waved one of his 4 hands. Yes, yes. Humans are good soldiers. We appreciate your service. But full membership requires more than the ability to fight and die. A delegate from the Mythori species spoke next. The Mythori were small creatures that looked like insects. They were known throughout the galaxy for their cruelty. The human ambassador forgets her place. Her species should be grateful we allow them to sit in this hall at all. 300 years ago, you humans were still fighting each other with primitive weapons. You are barely civilized. Several aliens made sounds of agreement. Sarah felt her face grow hot with anger, but she kept her voice calm. The Mythori were at war with themselves for 5,000 years before they achieved peace. Should we judge you by your past as well? The Mythori delegate hissed with anger. How dare you compare us to your kind? We are an ancient and noble species. That is enough, Torvan said. He did not raise his voice, but everyone fell silent. Ambassador Chen, the council has heard your request. We will now vote. Sarah watched as the representatives pressed buttons on their platforms. The result appeared in glowing numbers above the center of the hall. 93 votes against, 7 votes in favor. Earth's request was denied. Again, Torvan smiled. It was not a kind smile. Perhaps you should try again in another 100 years, Ambassador, when your species has matured. More of that not quite laughter filled the hall. Sarah stood there and took it. She had no choice. Earth needed the council, or at least, that was what everyone had always believed. Later that day, Sarah walked through the corridors of the space station. The other delegates she passed barely looked at her. Some deliberately bumped into her or blocked her path. A group of young Vixari pointed at her and made rude gestures. She had been the ambassador to the council for 15 years. In all that time, nothing had changed. Humans were still treated as lesser beings. They were given the worst jobs, the most dangerous missions, and the smallest rewards. Earth paid heavy taxes to the council but received almost nothing in return. When Sarah reached the human section of the station, she found Captain James Wright waiting for her. James was the commander of Earth's small fleet of ships that were stationed at the council. He was a large man with dark skin and a shaved head. He had been a soldier for 30 years. I saw the vote, James said. His jaw was tight with anger. Same result as always. Sarah nodded. She suddenly felt very old. I am starting to wonder if there is any point in continuing. They walked together to the human residential area. It was the smallest and oldest section of the station. The lights flickered. The walls were stained. The air smelled of recycled oxygen that had been used too many times. The council uses us, James said. They take our resources, our soldiers, our technology, and they give us nothing but insults. We have no choice, Sarah said. but her voice was uncertain. Earth cannot survive alone. We need the Council's protection. Their trade routes. Their technology. James stopped walking. He turned to face her. Do we? Ambassador, I have been thinking about this for a long time. What exactly does the Council give us? Sarah opened her mouth to answer, then stopped. She thought about it. The Council's protection? Human soldiers did most of the fighting. The trade routes? Earth paid enormous fees to use them and received only scraps in return. Technology? The Council closely guarded their advanced technology and shared very little with humans. They give us the right to exist in this galaxy, Sarah finally said. Without them, the other species would destroy us. Would they? James asked. Or is that just what the Council wants us to believe? Before Sarah could respond, an alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed in the corridor. A mechanical voice announced, "All human personnel report to the command center immediately." They ran. When they reached the command center, they found chaos. Human officers were shouting and pointing at screens. In the middle of it all was Admiral Yang, the highest-ranking human military officer at the station. "What happened?" James demanded. Admiral Yang turned to him. Her face was pale. "The Void Raiders. They attacked the human colony on New Hope. 500,000 civilians." Sarah felt her heart freeze. "When? How many casualties?" 3 hours ago. Early reports say. Yang's voice broke. "Early reports say there are no survivors." The room went silent. 500,000 people. Gone. Just like that. "Where was the Council fleet?" James asked. His hands were shaking. There were supposed to be 300 Council warships protecting that sector. Yang shook her head. They withdrew 2 days ago. The Council reassigned them to protect a Vexari mining operation. Sarah felt something snap inside her. All the years of insults, all the rejected applications, all the sacrifices, and when humans needed help, the Council simply was not there. "They knew," she whispered. "The Council knew an attack was coming. That is why they moved the fleet. They sacrificed New Hope to protect Vexari mining profits." James grabbed her arm. "Can you prove that?" "I do not need to prove it. I know it. We all know it." The next morning, Sarah requested an emergency session of the Council. This time, when she stood at the speaker's platform, she was not tired. She was angry. 500,000 human civilians are dead, she announced. Her voice echoed through the Great Hall. The Council fleet that was supposed to protect them was withdrawn without warning or explanation. Torvin looked annoyed. "Ambassador, the fleet was needed elsewhere. These decisions are made based on strategic considerations that you would not understand." "Then explain them to me," Sarah said. "Explain why Vexari mining operations are more important than human lives." The hall erupted in angry shouts. Torvan banged his staff against the floor for silence. "You go too far, Ambassador. The Council does not owe Earth an explanation. The Council owes Earth everything," Sarah shouted. "We have given you our blood, our treasure, our loyalty. And what have we received? Nothing but scorn and neglect. You have received the honor of serving the great civilizations of this galaxy," the Krell ambassador said. "That should be enough for any species." Sarah stared at him for a long moment. Then she reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button on it. "Let the record show," she said clearly, "that Earth formally withdraws from the Galactic Council. All treaties, agreements, and obligations are hereby terminated. Earth and its colonies are no longer subject to Council authority." The hall went completely silent. Even Torvan looked shocked. In the entire history of the Council, no species had ever voluntarily left. "You cannot do this," Torvan said. "Earth is a subordinate member. You do not have the authority." "We have every authority," Sarah interrupted. "Article 47 of the Council Charter allows any member species to withdraw with 30 days' notice. Consider this, our notice." The Mythori ambassador was making high-pitched sounds of amusement. "Let them go. Without the Council's protection, the other species will destroy them within a year." "Perhaps," Sarah said. She was smiling now, but it was not a pleasant smile. "Or perhaps Earth will finally be free to become what we were always meant to be." She turned and walked out of the Great Hall. Behind her, she could hear the aliens arguing and shouting. She did not look back. Over the next 30 days, the human delegation prepared to leave the Council station. Many of the alien species seemed happy to see them go. Others seemed worried. The Krell ambassador approached Sarah privately and offered to help Earth reverse its decision. Sarah politely refused. On the final day, Captain James Wright supervised the loading of the last transport ship. All human personnel were being evacuated. All human equipment and supplies were being removed. After 300 years, humanity's presence at the council was ending. Admiral Yang approached James as he watched the loading. "I just received word from Earth Command," she said. "The Senate has approved the defense initiative." James nodded slowly. "How long did they say it would take?" "They did not give a specific time, but the president said to tell you one thing." Yang paused. She said, "We will be ready." As the transport ships pulled away from the council station, Sarah Chen stood at a window and watched it shrink in the distance. She did not know what the future would bring. She only knew that Earth would never again bow before the council. The news of Earth's withdrawal spread quickly across the galaxy. Most species reacted with amusement or indifference. The humans were a minor race, barely worth noticing. Without the council's protection, they would surely be conquered or destroyed within a few years. But there were some who watched humanity with different eyes. The Jurai, a species known for their wisdom, sent a private message to Earth. It contained only 3 words: "Remember who you are." The first year after Earth left the council was quiet. Human space became off-limits to outsiders. The council sent observers to watch Earth's borders, but they reported nothing unusual. A few small trading ships came and went. Military patrols kept to their regular routes. The council stopped paying attention. They had more important matters to consider. A new threat was rising in the outer regions of the galaxy. A species called the Devourer was expanding rapidly, consuming everything in their path. The council began assembling a fleet to stop them. On Earth, life was changing. The government declared a state of emergency. All resources were directed toward a single purpose. Factories that had made consumer goods began producing weapons. Scientists who had studied theoretical physics began building new kinds of engines. Every man, woman, and child was given a role to play. "We have been treated as lesser beings for 300 years, President Martinez said in a broadcast to the entire planet. "We accepted it because we believed we were weak. We believed we needed the council to survive. But we were wrong." She stood in front of a massive construction yard. Behind her, the skeleton of an enormous warship was taking shape. Sparks flew as thousands of workers welded metal plates into place. "The council sees us as children," the president continued. "They think we are useful only as soldiers and workers. They have never bothered to learn what humanity is truly capable of. They do not know our history. They do not know how we rose from the ashes of a dying world and reached for the stars. They do not know how many times we have faced extinction and refused to die." More ships were being built in other yards across the planet, and not just on Earth. Every human colony was contributing. Mars, Europa, New Beijing, the stations orbiting Jupiter, all of them were working around the clock. "The council forgot one important truth," President Martinez said. "Humanity is at its best when we are pushed against a wall. When everything seems lost, when all hope appears to be gone, that is when we show our true strength." The broadcast ended with an image of the new warship. It was bigger than any vessel Earth had ever built. Its hull was covered in weapons. Its engines glowed with power. "This is the first of many," the president announced. "We are calling it the Hope. When we return to the stars, we will not come as servants. We will come as equals." On the council station, High Counselor Torvan watched the broadcast with a slight frown. His aide stood nearby, waiting for orders. "Should we be concerned?" the aide asked. Torvan laughed. "The humans are building one warship? How frightening. We have thousands." He waved a dismissive hand. "Let them play with their toys. When they are ready to apologize and return to their proper place, we will be here." He turned away and forgot about Earth entirely. He had more pressing matters to consider. The Devourer fleet was growing larger every day. The Council's military commanders were asking for more ships, more soldiers, more resources. If Torvan had looked more carefully at the broadcast, he might have noticed something important. Behind the president, in the construction yard, there were not one but dozens of skeletal frames taking shape, and in the far distance, beyond the camera's focus, there were hundreds more, but he did not look. None of them did. And so the council continued on, confident in their power, certain of their superiority, completely unaware of what was coming. On Earth, The work continued. Day and night, the factories produced weapons. Scientists made discoveries that would have taken centuries under normal conditions. The military trained new soldiers and developed new tactics. And in a secret facility deep beneath the surface of the moon, Admiral Yang stood before a holographic display. It showed Earth and all its colonies. It showed the routes to the Council Station. And it showed something else, a growing fleet of warships, hidden from all outside observers. "We are ahead of schedule," Yang reported to the president. "At this rate, we will be ready sooner than expected." "How soon?" the president asked. Yang checked her notes. "At current production rates, we will have 1,000 fully armed warships within 10 years. The president smiled. It was the same kind of smile that Sarah Chen had worn when she walked out of the council chamber. "Then we had better start planning our return." Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. They had watched civilizations rise and fall for billions of years. They were about to witness something new, something that would change the galaxy forever. Humanity was no longer waiting. Humanity was preparing. And when they were ready, they would remind the council of a lesson that should never have been forgotten. In the words of an ancient human philosopher, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. The council had forgotten. But humanity remembered. They remembered every insult, every humiliation, every life that had been sacrificed for an ungrateful galaxy, and they were going to make sure that no one would ever forget again. 5 years had passed since Earth left the council. In that time, the galaxy had almost forgotten about the small species that had dared to walk away. The council had more important problems to worry about. The devourer threat was growing worse every day. But on Earth, things were very different. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in her laboratory deep underground. Around her were hundreds of scientists, all working on the same project. They called it Project Phoenix. Its goal was simple: create weapons and technology that could match or surpass anything in the galaxy. "The plasma core is stable," one of the scientists reported. "We can begin the first test." Elena nodded. She had not slept in 3 days. None of them had. Sleep was a luxury they could not afford. In front of her was a device the size of a small car. It looked like nothing special, just a collection of metal and wires. But Elena knew what it really was. If it worked, it would change everything. "Begin the test," she ordered. The machine hummed to life. Energy crackled around it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a beam of pure white light shot out from the device. It struck a target on the far wall, a piece of armor taken from a Krell warship, the toughest material in the galaxy. The beam cut through it like paper. The scientists erupted in cheers. Elena allowed herself a small smile. After 2 years of failure, they had finally done it. They had created a weapon that could penetrate any defense the council had. "This is just the beginning," Elena said to her team. "Now we need to make it bigger. Much bigger." Across the planet and throughout human space, similar breakthroughs were happening every day. In a research station orbiting Mars, a team developed a new type of engine that could travel twice as fast as anything the council possessed. On Europa, engineers created a shield system that could absorb 10 times more damage than standard defenses. And on Earth itself, factories worked around the clock producing ships, weapons, and supplies. The centerpiece of it all was the shipyards. They stretched for hundreds of kilometers in orbit above Earth. Thousands of workers in spacesuits moved among the skeletal frames of warships, welding, riveting, and installing systems. Every week, new ships were completed. Every month, the fleet grew larger. Admiral Yang visited the shipyards regularly. She had been promoted to supreme commander of all human military forces. It was her job to turn this growing fleet into a fighting force. "How many ships are combat ready?" she asked Captain James Wright, who now served as her second in command. James checked his datapad. 347. Another 80 will be completed this month. Yang looked out the viewport at the ships. They were beautiful in their own way. Long, sleek vessels bristling with weapons. Each one was designed from the ground up for a single purpose: war. "We need to train the crews better," Yang said. "The Council has thousands of years of experience in space combat. We have only 200. Our ships may be more advanced, but that means nothing if our crews cannot use them properly." "The training programs are running constantly," James replied. "Every pilot, every gunner, every officer is being pushed to their limits. And beyond." Yang nodded. "Good. We cannot afford to be second best in anything. She thought about the 500,000 people who had died on New Hope. She thought about all the human soldiers who had sacrificed themselves in the Council's wars, only to be treated as expendable. Those memories fueled her determination. The Council thinks we are building one warship, Yang said. When we finally show ourselves, I want them to see 1,000. In another part of human space, Ambassador Sarah Chen was working on a different kind of project. She had spent the past 5 years studying every species in the galaxy, not just the Council members, but the smaller races too, the ones who, like humanity, had been treated as inferiors. The Jurai are willing to meet, her assistant reported. They have sent a secret envoy, Sarah smiled. The Jurai were an ancient species known for their wisdom and neutrality. They had never fully joined the Council but maintained friendly relations with everyone. Their opinion carried great weight throughout the galaxy. The meeting took place on a small moon at the edge of human space. Sarah arrived alone, as requested. The Jurai envoy was waiting for her, a being that looked almost human, but with silver skin and eyes that seemed to contain stars. Ambassador Chen, the Jurai said. Its voice was like music. My people have been watching humanity with great interest. We are honored by your attention, Sarah replied. The Jurai studied her for a long moment. When you left the Council, many believed you were foolish. Some believed you were brave. My people believed something different. What did your people believe? We believed you were necessary. The Jurai moved closer. The Council has grown corrupt and stagnant. They have forgotten what it means to face true challenges. They need to be reminded. Sarah felt her heart beat faster. Are the Jurai willing to support Earth? We cannot support you openly, but we can offer information. The Jurai handed her a small crystal. This contains everything we know about the Devourer. The Council does not understand the true nature of the threat they face. If they continue on their current path, they will be destroyed. Sarah took the crystal. Why are you helping us? The Jurai smiled. It was a sad smile. Because when the darkness comes, the galaxy will need humanity. You are the only ones with the fire to stand against it. Back on Earth, the information from the Jurai was analyzed by the best military minds in human space. What they found was disturbing. The Devourer are not just another aggressive species, Admiral Yang told President Martinez. They are something much worse. They consume everything, not just planets, but stars. They convert matter into more of themselves. At their current rate of expansion, they will reach Council space in 15 years. They will reach Earth in 20. The President studied the data on her screen. Can the Council stop them? No. Their fleet is large, but the Devourer adapt to any weapon used against them. The Council keeps using the same tactics, the same technology. Eventually, the Devourer will become immune to everything they have. And us? Can we stop them? Yang paused. I do not know, but I know we have to try. If we do not, there will be no one left. The President made a decision. She called an emergency meeting of all human leaders, political, military, scientific, and civilian. For the first time, everyone was told the full truth. The galaxy faces extinction, the President announced. Not just humanity, but all life. The Devourer will consume everything if they are not stopped. The Council cannot stop them. That leaves us. The room was silent. Then, slowly, people began to speak. Some argued that humanity should hide, flee to another galaxy if possible. Others wanted to warn the Council and offer an alliance, but most expressed a different opinion. For 300 years, we served the Council faithfully, said General Marcus Cole, the oldest military officer in the room. They spat on us. They let our people die. Now they face destruction, and they expect us to save them? They do not expect anything from us, Sarah Chen replied. They have forgotten we exist. Then perhaps we should remind them, Cole said. But on our terms, not as servants, as equals. Or perhaps, he smiled grimly, perhaps as their only hope. The debate continued for hours. In the end, they reached a decision. Humanity would continue building its fleet. When the time was right, they would return to Council space. They would offer to help, but only if the Council agreed to fundamental changes in how humans were treated. And if they refuse, someone asked, then we will let them face the Devourer alone, the President replied. and hoped that enough of them survived to learn from their mistakes. The years continued to pass. Earth's fleet grew larger and more powerful. Training exercises became more intense and realistic. Scientists continued to push the boundaries of what was possible. In the 8th year, Dr. Elena Vasquez made her greatest discovery. She called it the Unity Field, a device that could link the minds of an entire fleet, allowing them to fight as a single entity. No more communication delays. No more misunderstandings. Every ship would know exactly what every other ship was doing, and they would move and fight as one. "This is impossible," Admiral Yang said when she saw the first demonstration. "No other species has anything like this. That is because no other species thinks the way we do," Elena explained. "Humans have always been good at working together. We form teams, families, nations. We unite against common threats. This technology simply amplifies what we already do naturally." The Unity Field was installed in every ship in the fleet. Training exercises improved dramatically. Ships that had been good became excellent. Crews that had been skilled became perfect. On the 10th anniversary of Earth's departure from the Council, Admiral Yang stood on the bridge of the flagship now named the Vengeance. Around her, visible through the enormous viewports, were 1,000 warships. They filled space as far as the eye could see. "Fleet status report," Yang commanded. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," her tactical officer replied. "Weapon systems at full power, shields charged, crews standing by." Yang looked at the fleet, her fleet. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, crewed by the best-trained soldiers in the galaxy. Together, they represented everything humanity had worked for. 10 years ago, we were treated as nothing, Yang said, her voice carrying across the ship's communication system. 10 years ago, we were insulted, ignored, and abandoned. The Council believed we would wither and die without them. She paused. Around the fleet, every crew member was listening. They were wrong. We did not wither. We did not die. Instead, we grew stronger. We became something they never imagined. We became warriors. The fleet was silent, waiting. Soon, we will return to Council space. Not as servants, not as beggars. We will return as a force unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. And when we arrive, the Council will have a choice. They can accept us as equals and join us in fighting the true enemy. Or they can face the Devourer alone. In every ship, soldiers stood straighter. Pride filled their hearts. "I know which choice they will make," Yang continued. "Because when they see what we have become, they will understand what humanity truly is. We are not children. We are not inferior. We are the species that survived ice ages and world wars. We are the species that conquered diseases and split atoms. We are the species that looked at the stars and refused to stop until we reached them." She raised her fist. "We are humanity, and the galaxy is about to remember why they should never have underestimated us." A roar went up from the crew. It was echoed across every ship in the fleet. 1,000 warships, crews united in purpose and determination. At that moment, far away in Council space, High Counselor Torvan was attending yet another meeting about the Devourer threat. Reports were increasingly grim. Colony after colony was falling to the enemy. The Council's fleet was being pushed back on every front. "We need more soldiers," a military commander was saying. "More ships, more everything." Torvan rubbed his temples. "Where are we supposed to find more resources? Every member species is already contributing everything they can. There are non-member species," someone suggested. "Perhaps we could recruit." "No," Torvan cut him off. "We will not beg lesser species for help. The Council will handle this ourselves." No one mentioned Earth. In 10 years, no one had mentioned Earth. The humans had become a footnote in history, a minor species that had foolishly rejected the greatest civilization in the galaxy. Torvan did not know that his footnote was about to become the most important chapter in the story of the galaxy. While the Council argued and debated, Earth's fleet was preparing to move. Supply ships were loaded. Final training exercises were completed. Every ship was checked and rechecked. President Martinez visited Admiral Yang one last time before the fleet departed. They stood together on the observation deck of the Vengeance, looking out at the assembled ships. "I wish I could go with you," Martinez said. "Your place is here," Yang replied. "Earth needs you. The colonies need you. If something goes wrong, you will have to lead whatever comes next." Martinez nodded slowly. Do you think they will accept our terms? I think they will have no choice. When they see what we have built, when they understand what we offer, they will accept. Pride is a powerful thing, but survival is more powerful. The president reached out and clasped Yang's hand. Bring our people home safely, Admiral, and show the galaxy what humanity is made of. I will, Yang promised. One way or another, the galaxy will never forget this day. The next morning, 1,000 warships ignited their engines and began moving toward the edge of human space. They traveled in perfect formation, their unity field linking them into a single, unstoppable force. As they approached the boundary between human space and Council territory, Captain James Wright turned to Admiral Yang. Orders, Admiral. Yang looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there was the Council that had rejected humanity. Somewhere out there was the enemy that threatened all life. And somewhere out there was the destiny that humanity had been building toward for 300 years. Set course for the Council station, Yang commanded. Maximum speed. And if they try to stop us? Yang smiled. It was not a kind smile. They can try. The fleet surged forward, crossing into Council space for the first time in a decade. Behind them, Earth waited and hoped. Ahead of them, a galaxy stood on the edge of destruction. The moment of truth was finally at hand. The Council station was in chaos. Warning sirens blared through every corridor. Military officers ran back and forth, shouting orders that no one seemed to follow. In the Great Hall where so many species had gathered to insult humanity, screens now showed maps of a galaxy being consumed. High Counselor Torvan stood at his command platform, watching the latest reports come in. 30 more systems had fallen to the Devourer in the past month. The Council fleet had lost another 200 ships. At this rate, the enemy would reach the core worlds within 5 years. We are running out of options, Admiral Vex, the Krell commander of the Council fleet, reported. His scales were dull with stress. Every weapon we use against them, they adapt to within days. Our tactics no longer work. Our soldiers are dying in the thousands. Then find new tactics, Torvan snapped. Find new weapons, that is your job. With respect, High Counselor, we have tried everything. The Devourer are unlike any enemy we have faced. They do not negotiate. They do not retreat. They simply consume. The Metheri representative pushed forward. He looked thinner than he had 10 years ago. The stress was taking its toll on everyone. Perhaps we should evacuate the outer systems, pull our forces back to defend the core worlds, and abandon billions of citizens? Another representative demanded. That is unacceptable. It is survival, the Metheri replied. Better some than none. The argument continued, but Torvan was no longer listening. He was staring at a different screen, one that showed the borders of Council space. Something strange was happening. Long-range sensors were detecting unusual energy signatures. What is that? He asked, pointing. Admiral Vex looked at the screen and frowned. Unknown. It appears to be a large number of ships approaching from. That direction is. He paused, confused. That direction is human space. Humans. Torvan laughed, but there was no humor in it. The humans have been gone for 10 years. They probably destroyed themselves by now. These readings are definitely ships, Vex insisted. Many ships. More than 100. A cold feeling settled in Torvan's stomach. Send a patrol to investigate, and do not let this distract from the real threat. But the cold feeling would not go away. On the edge of Council space, the first patrol ships spotted the incoming fleet. What they saw made them freeze in disbelief. Command, this is Patrol 7, the patrol leader reported, his voice shaking. We have visual confirmation of the unknown contacts. They are warships. Human warships. How many? Command asked. The patrol leader counted, and counted, and kept counting. I see hundreds. No, more than hundreds. His voice rose in panic. There are at least 1,000 ships out here. At the Council station, the report was received with stunned silence. Torvan stared at the communication officer as if he had grown a second head. Say that again, he ordered. 1,000 human warships, High Counselor. They are on a direct course for the Council station. The Great Hall erupted in panicked chatter. Representatives shouted questions and demands. Military officers began calculating defense plans. Everyone was confused and afraid. This is impossible, Torvan said. The humans had barely 50 ships when they left. They could not have built this many in 10 years. It must be a trick. So, it is no trick, a new voice said. Every eye turned to the main communication screen. It flickered, and then a face appeared, a face that Torvan remembered. It was older now, with more lines and gray hair, but the eyes were the same. Hard, determined, unafraid. Ambassador Chen, Torvan said slowly. This is unexpected. Sarah Chen smiled. Hello, High Counselor. I told you that Earth would not be waiting 100 years. What is the meaning of this? You bring warships into council space without permission? We do not need your permission. We are not members of your council. Sarah's smile faded. But we are not here to fight you, Torvan. We are here to save you. The hall went quiet. Torvan opened his mouth, closed it, and opened it again. Save us? From what? From the devourer. From your own pride. From extinction. Sarah leaned forward. We know about your war, Torvan. We know that you are losing. We know that if something does not change, every species in this galaxy will be consumed. How do you know this? Because while you were ignoring us, we were paying attention. We know the devourer better than you do. We have developed weapons and tactics that can actually hurt them, and we are willing to share them with the Council under certain conditions. Torvan's 4 hands clenched into fists. You dare dictate terms to us? We dare because we can, Sarah replied calmly. Look at our fleet, Torvan. 1,000 warships, each one more advanced than anything you possess. We could destroy your station right now if we wanted to. We could carve a path through your territory and take whatever we pleased. But that is not why we came. Admiral Vex stepped forward. High Counselor, I have been analyzing their ships. The ambassador is telling the truth. Their technology is remarkable. Their weapons could potentially penetrate devourer defenses. Their shields are stronger than anything we have. How is this possible? Torvan demanded. They are humans. They are primitives. Perhaps, Sarah said. That is what happens when you underestimate people. Perhaps when you treat someone as inferior for 300 years, they become determined to prove you wrong. The transmission was joined by another face, Admiral Yang, standing on the bridge of the Vengeance. High Counselor, my name is Admiral Yang, Supreme Commander of the Earth Fleet. I have orders from my government to offer the Council our help in defeating the Devourer. But before we discuss that, there is something you need to understand. She pressed a button, and the screen split to show the human fleet. 1,000 ships in perfect formation, their weapons powered up and ready. Every one of these ships is linked by a system called the Unity Field. It allows them to fight as a single entity. When we move together. When we fire as one. The Devourer adapt to individual weapons and tactics. They cannot adapt to 1,000 ships acting with one mind. The representatives in the hall murmured to each other. Some looked frightened. Others looked hopeful. What are your conditions? Torvan asked. His voice was strained. Sarah took over again. First, Earth and all human colonies will be recognized as full and equal members of the Galactic Council. Not subordinates. Not servants. Equals. That is, acceptable, Torvan said through gritted teeth. Second, all human soldiers who died in service to the Council will be honored. Memorials will be built. Their sacrifice will be remembered. Fine. Third, the Council will pay reparations to the families of the 500,000 civilians who died on New Hope. The attack that you allowed to happen, Torvan's face twisted with anger. We did not allow. You withdrew your fleet to protect Vexari mining interests. Sarah cut him off. We have proof. Accept responsibility, or we leave. A long silence followed. Finally, Torvan nodded. Very well. We accept responsibility. Fourth, Sarah continued. The Council will reform its voting system. Every member species, regardless of age or size, will have an equal voice in decisions. No more domination by the old races. This caused an uproar. The Krell ambassador slammed his massive fist on his platform. Outrageous. We have been members for 10,000 years. You cannot expect us to have the same voice as species that joined yesterday. Then enjoy fighting the Devourer without us. Admiral Yang said. We will watch from a safe distance. The Krell ambassador opened his mouth to argue, but Admiral Vex grabbed his arm. Be quiet, you fool. Look at their ships. Look at their weapons. Without them, we are dead. The debate continued for an hour, but the outcome was inevitable. One by one, the The representatives agreed to Earth's terms. They had no choice. Their backs were against the wall, and humanity was the only hope they had left. When all the conditions were accepted, Sarah Chen addressed the council one final time. "Thank you for your cooperation. I know this was not easy for you. Your pride has taken a blow today. But pride means nothing if we are all dead." She paused, looking at the assembly, the same assembly that had rejected Earth 47 times. The same assembly that had laughed at humanity and called them children. 10 years ago, I walked out of this hall in anger. I believed the council was beyond saving. I believed you would never change. Her voice softened slightly. I hope I was wrong. I hope that when this war is over, we can build something better together. A galaxy where all species are truly equal, where no one is treated as inferior. She straightened. But first, we must survive. And to do that, we must fight. Admiral Yang will now brief you on our battle plan. Yang stepped forward. Behind her, tactical displays showed maps of Devourer-controlled space. The enemy has consumed approximately 15% of the galaxy. Their main force is currently moving toward the Krell homeworld. If they take it, they will gain access to the largest shipyards in Council space. We cannot allow that to happen. The Krell homeworld? The Krell ambassador looked terrified. My people, my family, will be safe if our plan works, Yang assured him. The Earth fleet will lead the attack. We will draw the Devourer's main force into a trap. Council ships will provide support and cut off their escape routes. You want us to follow your orders? A Vexari commander asked. Human orders? Do you have a better plan? Yang replied. Have any of your tactics worked so far? The commander was silent. I thought not. Here is how this will work. The Unity field can be extended to include Council ships if their crews agree to link with us. You will see what we see. You will know what we know. And together, we will fight as one fleet. Link our minds with humans? The Methari representative made a sound of disgust. Never. Then your ships can stay behind, Yang said. We will save the galaxy without you. In the end, most of the Council species agreed to the link. Only the Methori refused entirely. They would watch the battle from a safe distance, they said. If humanity proved itself, they would consider joining later. Yang did not argue. She had expected this. The Methori had always been the most hostile to humanity. Let them watch. Let them see what they had missed. The combined fleet assembled at the edge of Krell space. Earth's 1,000 warships formed the center, surrounded by 3,000 Council vessels. It was the largest fleet ever gathered in the history of the galaxy. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Yang activated the Unity field. She felt the minds of her crew connect, not reading thoughts, but sharing awareness. She knew where every ship was, what every weapon was doing, how every crew member felt. Then the Council ships linked in. It was different. Alien minds touched hers. Krell warriors, steady and strong. Vexari tacticians, quick and clever. Jurai observers, calm and ancient. Hundreds of species, all connected. For a moment, Yang felt overwhelmed. Then she steadied herself. These were her allies now. Her responsibility. Her fleet. All ships, she announced, her voice carrying to every vessel. The enemy is ahead. They have never faced a force like ours. They do not know what we are capable of. Today, we show them. The fleet began to move. Engines fired. Ships accelerated. The stars streaked past. Ahead, the Devourer waited. Millions of them, gathered around the Krell homeworld. From a distance, they looked like a swarm of insects, countless small shapes moving in perfect coordination. Each one was a living weapon, capable of consuming ships and planets alike. Enemy fleet detected, the tactical officer reported. Approximately 3 million individual units. 3 million? Someone on the Council frequency gasped. That is, we cannot fight 3 million. Yes, we can, Yang replied. Trust the plan. Trust each other. Trust humanity. The Devourer noticed the approaching fleet. They began to move, forming into attack formations. Their patterns were strange, not like normal military tactics, but more like a predator preparing to strike. They are adapting already, a Council scientist reported. Analyzing our ship configurations. Let them analyze, Yang said. They have never seen weapons like ours. The two fleets raced toward each other. The distance shrank rapidly. 100,000 kilometers, 50,000, 20,000. All ships, Yang commanded. Weapons free. 1,000 human warships fired at once. Beams of white light shot across space, the same technology that Dr. Elena Vasquez had developed years ago. The beams struck the front ranks of the Devourer swarm. The effect was devastating. Devourer units exploded by the thousands. Holes appeared in their formation. For the first time, the enemy was taking serious casualties, but there were millions more behind them. The surviving Devourer pressed forward, undeterred by their losses. They began firing their own weapons, strange biological projectiles that could eat through any known defense. Shields holding, the tactical officer reported. The new shielding is working. Council ships followed the human lead, firing their own weapons. The combined firepower was immense. Space became a chaos of energy beams, explosions, and dying Devourer. But the enemy kept coming, and they were starting to adapt. Some Devourer units were developing new armor that resisted the human beams. Others were finding ways to bypass the shields. They are learning faster than expected, a Krell commander reported. Our weapons are becoming less effective. Then we change weapons, Yang replied. All human ships switched to secondary armament. The 1,000 human ships stopped firing their beam weapons. Instead, they launched missiles, but not ordinary missiles. These were filled with a substance that Dr. Vasquez's team had developed specifically for the Devourer, a biological agent that disrupted their ability to adapt. The missiles struck home. Devourer units that were hit began to malfunction. Their adaptations failed. Their coordination broke down. They started attacking each other. It is working, the Krell commander shouted. The enemy is in chaos. Press the attack, Yang ordered. All ships, advance. The combined fleet surged forward. Human and Council ships fought side by side, their movements perfectly coordinated through the unity field. For the first time since the war began, the Devourer were being pushed back, but Yang knew this was only the beginning. The real test was still to come. In the center of the Devourer swarm, something stirred. It was larger than the rest, much larger. A creature the size of a small moon, pulsing with dark energy. The Queen, the source of the Devourer's coordination. The reason they could adapt so quickly. Admiral, the tactical officer said quietly, we have a problem. Yang looked at the screen showing the Queen. It was moving toward the fleet. And as it moved, the Devourer around it began to coordinate again. The chaos Yang had created was fading. I see it, Yang replied. All ships, focus fire on the Queen. 1,000 human ships turned their weapons on the massive creature. But before they could fire, the Queen did something unexpected. It spoke, not in words, but in a transmission that every ship received. Images and emotions flooded through the unity field. Hunger, endless hunger, a species that had consumed galaxies, that would consume this one too. A single message, repeated over and over. You cannot stop us. We are eternal. We are inevitable. Some crew members screamed. Others fell unconscious. The unity field wavered as minds tried to process the alien contact, but Admiral Yang stood firm. She had faced despair before. She had watched her people be humiliated for 300 years. She had seen colonies destroyed while the Council did nothing. This was just another enemy trying to break her spirit. Wrong, she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. You are just another obstacle, and humanity does not stop for obstacles. She took direct control of the unity field, steadying the minds connected to it. Human and alien alike felt her determination, her absolute refusal to accept defeat. All ships, Yang commanded. Follow my lead, the fleet responded. 1,000 human warships and 3,000 Council vessels moved as one, charging directly at the Queen. They fired everything they had: beams, missiles, conventional weapons, experimental devices. The sky filled with light. The Queen screamed. It was a sound that shook the fabric of space itself, but it was a sound of pain. The combined fleet was hurting it, and they were just getting started. The battle for the Krell homeworld had become something that had never been seen before in the history of the galaxy. 4,000 ships against 3 million Devourer units and their massive Queen. Space was filled with fire, explosions, and death. Admiral Yang stood at the center of it all, her mind connected to every ship in the combined fleet. She could feel the fear of the Council crews, who had never experienced the unity field before. She could feel the determination of her own people, who had trained for this moment for a decade. And she could feel something else, a growing sense of hope. They were winning. Slowly, painfully, but they were winning. The Queen's shields are weakening. Captain James Wright reported from his position at the tactical station. Our weapons are getting through. Yang nodded. Keep firing. Do not let up for a second. The Queen was a monster unlike anything the galaxy had faced. Its body stretched for hundreds of kilometers, covered in weapons and armor that seemed to grow and change every moment. Smaller Devour units swarmed around it like insects protecting their hive. But for all its power, the Queen was hurt. Scorch marks covered its surface. Chunks of its armor had been blown away. Its movements were becoming slower, more desperate. It is trying to retreat, the tactical officer said. The Queen is pulling back toward the outer system. No. Yang's voice was hard as steel. We end this today. All ships, pursue and destroy. The combined fleet surged forward. Human ships led the charge, their advanced engines allowing them to keep pace with the fleeing Queen. Council ships followed close behind, adding their firepower to the assault. The Devourer units fought back with desperate fury. They threw themselves at the attacking fleet, sacrificing themselves to slow the advance. Thousands of them died every minute, but more kept coming. We are taking losses, a Krell commander reported. The enemy is focusing on our support ships. Yang checked the fleet status. Dozens of Council vessels had been destroyed. Hundreds more were damaged. The human fleet had lost fewer ships thanks to their superior shields. But they were not immune to the constant attacks. Titan formation, Yang ordered. Human ships, provide cover for the Council vessels. We cannot afford to lose our allies now. The fleet reorganized itself. Human warships moved to protect the weaker Council ships, taking hits that would have destroyed them. Crews worked frantically to repair damage and keep weapons firing. Through it all, Yang kept her focus on the Queen. The massive creature was still trying to escape, but it was slowing down. Its wounds were too severe. It could not run forever. Admiral, the tactical officer said, I am detecting something strange. The Queen's energy output is increasing. Yang frowned. Increasing? Even while it is wounded? Yes, it is. I think it is preparing something. Before Yang could respond, the Queen stopped running. It turned to face the pursuing fleet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Queen screamed again. This time, the scream was not just a sound. It was a weapon. A wave of pure psychic energy swept out from the creature, hitting every ship in the fleet. Through the unity field, Yang felt millions of alien thoughts crash into the minds of her crews. Screams filled the communication channels. Ships veered off course as their crews struggled with the mental assault. The unity field began to fragment as minds overloaded. Hold together, Yang shouted. Everyone, focus on my voice. Block out everything else. She poured her own strength into the field, trying to stabilize it. But there were too many ships, too many minds. She could not reach them all. Then she felt something unexpected. Help was coming. The Jurai ship's ancient vessels that had joined the fleet at the last moment began broadcasting a signal. It was a song, in a way. A melody that cut through the chaos and brought calm. We are with you, Admiral, the Jurai commander said. Our people have faced psychic attacks before. Let us help shield the fleet. The Jurai song spread through the unity field. Minds that had been overwhelmed began to recover. Ships that had lost control steadied themselves. The fleet regrouped. Yang felt a moment of gratitude. Then she pushed it aside. They could celebrate later. Right now, they had a monster to kill. All ships, she commanded. The Queen used its last weapon. It has nothing left. This is our chance. Attack with everything we have. 1,000 human ships fired at once. 3,000 Council ships added their weapons. The combined barrage was the most powerful attack ever launched in the history of space warfare. The Queen tried to raise its shields. They flickered and died. It tried to dodge. It was too slow, too wounded. It tried to scream again. The sound died in its throat. The firepower hit the Queen like a hammer from the gods. Its armor shattered. Its body tore apart. Explosions ripped through it from inside as vital systems failed. For a long moment, the Queen hung in space, broken and dying. Then, it exploded. The blast was visible from the Krell homeworld. Billions of citizens looked up and saw a new star appear in the sky, a star made of fire and death and hope. When the light faded, there was nothing left of the Queen but scattered debris. "Target destroyed," the tactical officer reported. His voice was shaking. The Queen is dead." A roar went up from the fleet. Human crews cheered. Council crews shouted in joy. Aliens who had never spoken to each other before embraced and cried. But Admiral Yang did not celebrate. She was watching the Devourer swarm. Without their Queen, the millions of units should have been thrown into chaos. They should have been easy to destroy. They were not. "Admiral," James said quietly, "the Devourer are still coordinated. How is that possible without the Queen?" Yang studied the enemy movements. James was right. The swarm was reorganizing, forming new attack patterns. They were adapting even without their central command. There must be another Queen, Yang realized. Or something like one. The Devourer do not rely on a single point of control. Then killing the Queen accomplished nothing? No. Yang shook her head. "We hurt them badly. Their coordination is slower. Their reactions are weaker. But we did not win the war. We only won a battle." She addressed the entire fleet. "All ships, the enemy is still active, but they are weakened. This is our opportunity to push them back, to reclaim the systems they have taken. Are you with me?" The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every ship, human and council alike, signaled their readiness. "Then let us finish what we started." Over the next hours, the combined fleet engaged the remaining Devourer forces. Without the Queen's enhanced coordination, the swarm was less effective. Ships that should have been destroyed survived. Attacks that should have succeeded failed. One by one, the Devourer units were eliminated. By the time the battle ended, over 2 million of them had been destroyed. The rest retreated into deep space, disappearing into regions where no ship could follow. The Krell homeworld was saved. Admiral Yang stood on the observation deck of the Vengeance, looking out at the stars. The battle was over, but she could not rest. Her mind was still connected to the remnants of the Unity field, still processing information from 1,000 ships. Captain James Wright joined her. He looked as tired as she felt. "Casualty reports are coming in," he said. "We lost 47 human ships. The Council lost over 200. Total crew deaths are estimated at 50,000. Yang closed her eyes. 50,000 lives. 50,000 families who would never see their loved ones again. "The Council is calling it a victory," James continued. "The greatest victory in their history, they say. It is a victory." Yang agreed. "But not a final one. The Devourer will return. They always do. Then we will fight them again." Yang turned to look at him. James had been with her since the beginning, since the days when they were nothing but servants to an ungrateful galaxy. He had never wavered, never lost faith. "When I took command of this fleet," Yang said, "I thought I knew what I was fighting for. I thought I was fighting to prove that humanity was worthy of respect, to make the Council pay for how they treated us. And now I understand that it was never about respect or revenge. It was about something bigger." She looked back at the stars. "We are fighting for the right to exist, not just humanity, but all life in this galaxy. The Devourer do not care about politics or pride. They just want to consume. If we do not stop them, everyone dies." James nodded slowly. "So we keep fighting. We keep fighting, until the enemy is destroyed or we are." A communication signal interrupted their conversation. It was from the Council Station High Counselor Torvan himself. "Admiral Yang." Torvan's image appeared on a nearby screen. He looked older than he had before the battle, tired and humble. "The Council wishes to express our gratitude for your service today. Without the human fleet, we would have been destroyed." Yang studied him for a moment. "You are welcome, High Counselor. I must admit," Torvan continued, "I did not believe humanity could accomplish what you did. When you left the Council 10 years ago, I thought you were fools. I was wrong. Yes, you were." Torvan winced at her bluntness, but he did not argue. "The Council has voted to implement all of the reforms your people requested. Full membership for Earth and its colonies, equal voting rights for all species, memorials for the human soldiers who died in our service, and reparations for the tragedy at New Hope." Yang felt something shift inside her. Not satisfaction exactly, but something close to it. Everything humanity had fought for was being achieved. "Thank you, High Counselor," she said. Earth accepts. There is one more thing, Torvin added. The Council has voted to offer you a position. We would like you to become Supreme Commander of all Council military forces. Human, Krell, Vexuri, everyone. You would have complete authority over the war against the Devourer. Yang was silent for a long moment. She had not expected this. You would give a human command of your entire military? She asked. After what we saw today, we would be fools not to. The Unity Field, your tactics, your technology, you have things we need. Things that could save us all. Torvan's voice softened. I know we do not deserve your help. We treated your people terribly for centuries. But I am asking anyway. Please, Admiral. Help us survive. Yang looked at James. He shrugged. Your call, Admiral. She thought about it. Part of her wanted to refuse. Part of her wanted to walk away from the Council just as Sarah Chen had done 10 years ago. Let them suffer. Let them face the consequences of their arrogance. But that was the old way of thinking. The way that led to division and weakness. If humanity was going to lead the galaxy into a new age, they had to be better than their enemies. They had to be better than their own anger. I accept, Yang said, but I have conditions. Name them. First, the Unity Field will be extended to all Council ships permanently. We fight as one fleet, or not at all. Agreed. Second, Dr. Elena Vasquez and her team will have unlimited resources to develop new weapons and technology. No restrictions. No oversight from the Council. Agreed. Third, the Jurai will be offered full membership in the Council. They helped save us today. They deserve recognition. Torvan hesitated. The Jurai had always maintained their independence, but he nodded. We will extend the offer. It will be their choice whether to accept. Then we have a deal. Yang straightened. I will begin reorganizing the fleet immediately. We have a lot of work to do. The transmission ended. Yang stood there for a moment, absorbing what had just happened. She had gone from a servant of the Council to its highest military commander. It was almost impossible to believe. What now? James asked. Now we hunt. Yang's eyes were hard. The Devourer retreated, but they are not gone. They are out there, regrouping, adapting. We need to find their remaining queens and destroy them before they can rebuild their strength. How many queens do you think there are? I do not know, but we will find out. She turned to leave the observation deck. Contact Sarah Chen. Tell her to begin diplomatic outreach to every species in the galaxy. If they are not members of the Council, offer them membership. If they are hostile, offer them peace. We need every ally we can get. And if some species refuse to help? Yang paused at the door. Then they can face the Devourer alone when the time comes. But I think most of them will join us. They saw what happened today. They know that unity is the only way to survive. She left to begin her work. There was so much to do, reorganizing the fleet, planning the next campaign, coordinating with thousands of different species. It would be the hardest task of her life, but for the first time, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. Real hope that they might actually win this war. On Earth, President Martinez watched the news broadcasts showing the battle's aftermath. Celebrations were breaking out across the planet. People danced in the streets, waving flags and chanting. The victory had united humanity like nothing in history. But Martinez's attention was on a different screen, a private communication from Admiral Yang. The Council has agreed to all our terms, Yang's recorded message said. Earth is now a full member with equal rights. The reforms are being implemented as we speak, and I have been given command of the entire Council military. Martinez smiled. 10 years ago, they had been outcasts, rejected, scorned. Now they were leading the galaxy against its greatest threat. There is still much work to do, Yang continued. The Devourer are not defeated, only weakened. The real war is still ahead of us. But for the first time, I believe we can win. Because we are not fighting alone anymore. The message ended. Martinez leaned back in her chair and looked out the window at the celebrating crowds. Earth had left the Council in shame. Now they had returned in glory. But glory was not enough. They needed to finish what they started. The war for the galaxy was far from over. 3 years had passed since the Battle of the Krell homeworld. 3 years of war, sacrifice, and slow progress. Under Admiral Yang's command, the combined fleet had pushed the Devourer back system by system. liberating worlds that had been consumed and destroying queens wherever they were found. 7 queens had been killed. Each battle was harder than the last. The Devourer learned from every defeat, adapted to every weapon. But humanity learned too. The scientists on Earth worked constantly, developing new technologies faster than the enemy could counter them. Now, only one queen remained. The oldest, the strongest, the one they called the Mother. She had retreated to the center of the Devourer's territory, a region of space so dangerous that no ship had ever returned from it. For months, the combined fleet had been preparing for the final assault. Every ship that could fight was being gathered. Every weapon that could be built was being manufactured. Admiral Yang stood in the war room of the Council Station, surrounded by the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. High Counselor Torvan was there, along with the military commanders of every member species. Sarah Chen represented Earth's civilian government. The Jurai envoy stood quietly in the corner, watching with ancient eyes. The Mother is protected by the last of the Devourer forces, Yang explained, pointing at a holographic map. Approximately 50 million units, concentrated in a sphere around her location. Our fleet numbers 12,000 ships. We will be outnumbered, but we have advantages they do not. What advantages? The Krell commander asked. Unity, technology, and the fact that we know exactly where she is. Yang highlighted a point in the center of the enemy formation. Dr. Vasquez's team has developed a new weapon, something that can destroy the Mother in a single strike. But we need to get close enough to use it. How close? Someone asked. Within 100 kilometers. The room went silent. 100 kilometers meant flying through millions of Devourer units. It meant suicide. That is impossible, the Vexari commander said. No ship could survive long enough. One ship could, Yang replied. The Vengeance has been modified to carry the weapon. Its shields have been reinforced with the latest technology. And it will not be alone. The entire fleet will create a path for it. Sarah Chen stepped forward. You are talking about leading the attack personally. I am the only one who can control the unity field precisely enough. If someone else tries, the coordination will fail. Ships will die uselessly, but you will die too. Yang did not answer immediately. She looked around the room at the faces of beings who had once despised humanity. Beings who had called them children, savages, inferiors. Now they were looking at her with something different in their eyes. Respect, gratitude, hope. If I die, Yang finally said, it will be because I chose to. Not because the Council sacrificed me, not because I was expendable. I will die as the commander of the greatest fleet this galaxy has ever seen, striking the final blow against an enemy that threatened all life. She smiled slightly. Honestly, I cannot think of a better way to go. The preparation for the final battle took 3 more weeks. Every ship was checked and rechecked. Every crew was briefed on the plan. The weapon doctor, Vasquez, had created a device called the Extinction Pulse, was carefully installed in the Vengeance. On the day before the fleet departed, Captain James Wright visited Admiral Yang in her quarters. They had served together for 15 years now. He knew her better than anyone. You do not have to do this yourself, he said. Let me pilot the Vengeance. You can command the fleet from another ship. Yang shook her head. The unity field works best when I am at the center of it. You know that. Then let me come with you. Someone needs to watch your back. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached out and clasped his hand. No, I need you to survive. If I fail, if the weapon does not work, someone will need to rally the fleet. Someone will need to keep fighting. She squeezed his hand. That someone is you. James wanted to argue, but he could see in her eyes that her mind was made up. She had always been stubborn. It was one of the things he admired most about her. Then make sure you do not fail, he said. The galaxy still needs you. I still need you. Yang smiled. I will do my best. The next day, 12,000 ships gathered at the edge of Devourer space. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in the history of the galaxy. Ships from 100 different species flew side by side, their crews linked by the unity field that Yang had taught them to use. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Yang took her command chair. Around her, a skeleton crew operated the essential systems. Most of the ship's normal complement had been transferred to other vessels. Only volunteers remained, people who had chosen to fly into almost certain death. All ships, Yang broadcast to the fleet. Today, We end this war. For 3 years, we have fought the Devourer across the galaxy. We have lost friends and family. We have sacrificed more than any species should have to sacrifice. Images of the war flashed through the unity field. Battles won and lost. Planets liberated. Soldiers who had died fighting. 50 million dead across all species, including 3 million humans. But we are still here, Yang continued. We are still fighting. And today, we will destroy the enemy once and for all. The fleet began to move. 12,000 ships accelerated toward the Devourer sphere, weapons powering up, shields at maximum. As they approached, the enemy responded. 50 million Devourer units swarmed toward the incoming fleet, forming defensive barriers and attack formations. The space between the two forces filled with deadly intent. Hold formation, Yang commanded. Wait for my signal. The distance closed. 1 million kilometers. 500,000, 100,000. Now, 12,000 ships fired at once. The combined firepower was beyond imagination enough to destroy planets, to shatter moons, to burn holes in the fabric of space itself. The front ranks of the Devourer swarm simply ceased to exist, but there were millions more behind them. They poured forward like a wave of death, crashing against the fleet's shields. Ships began to take damage. Some began to die. Maintain fire, Yang ordered. Create a path for the vengeance. The fleet fought with everything it had. Human ships used their advanced weapons to cut through the enemy. Krell warships absorbed damage that would have destroyed lesser vessels. Vexari fighters darted through the chaos, destroying Devourer units with precision strikes. Even the Mythori, who had finally joined the war, contributed their powerful chemical weapons. Slowly, painfully, a gap opened in the enemy formation. A corridor of clear space leading toward the mother at the center. Vengeance. You are clear to advance, James reported from his command ship. His voice was steady, but Yang could feel his fear through the unity field. Understood. Maintaining contact as long as possible. Yang looked at her crew. This is it. Everyone knows their job. Let us finish this. The Vengeance surged forward, entering the corridor. Behind it, the fleet closed ranks, protecting its rear from enemy attacks. Ahead, millions of Devourer units waited. They had 10,000 kilometers to go. The first wave of attackers hit them at 8,000 kilometers. Devourer units swarmed the ship, trying to breach its shields. The Vengeance's weapons fired constantly, destroying enemies by the hundreds, but more kept coming. Shields at 70%. An officer reported. Keep moving, Yang ordered. At 5,000 kilometers, the second wave hit. These were larger units, elite defenders protecting their mother. They hit harder, faster, more coordinated. The Vengeance shook with every impact. Shields at 40%. Yang pushed more power into the engines. The ship accelerated, trading defense for speed. They could not afford to be stopped now. At 2,000 kilometers, the shields failed. The first breach occurred near the engine room. Devourer units poured through, their bodies designed to consume and destroy. The crew fought back with handheld weapons, killing the invaders one by one. Hull breach in sections 3 through 7, someone shouted. Seal them off. Everyone focus on keeping us moving. At 1,000 kilometers, the mother came into view on the main screen. She was enormous, larger than any Queen Yang had seen. Her body pulsed with dark energy, and her surface was covered with weapons that could destroy cities. She was beautiful in a terrible way. The source of the Devourer plague. The beginning and the end of the greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced. Yang stood up from her command chair. Around her, the ship was dying. Fires burned in multiple sections. Systems were failing. Half her crew was already dead, but they had made it. They were within 100 kilometers. Arm the extinction pulse, she ordered. The weapon powered up. It was a simple device, in some ways a concentrated burst of energy that would disrupt the unique biology of the mother, causing a chain reaction that would destroy her and every Devourer connected to her. But it had to be delivered close. Very close. Admiral, the weapons officer said, we are within range. But the mother is raising her defenses. If we fire now, she might be able to block it. Yang looked at the screen. The mother's shields were activating, forming a barrier around her most vulnerable points. The extinction pulse would not penetrate in time, unless someone carried it through. Prepare a shuttle, Yang said. Load the weapon, Admiral. That is, That is what needs to happen. Yang walked toward the shuttle bay. I will deliver the weapon personally. Set the Vengeance on a collision course with the Mother's shields. When they are occupied defending against the ship, I will fly through and fire the pulse from inside her defenses. The crew stared at her. They all knew what she was asking. The shuttle would never make it out in time. It was a one-way trip. Every one of you has done your duty, Yang said. You have served humanity and the galaxy with honor. Now it is my turn. She climbed into the shuttle. The extinction pulse was loaded behind her seat, a cylinder of glowing energy that hummed with power. Through the unity field, she felt James trying to contact her, trying to stop her. She blocked him out. This was not the time for goodbyes. The shuttle launched from the dying Vengeance. Behind her, the great warship that had carried humanity's hopes accelerated toward the Mother, drawing her attention, drawing her fire. Yang flew through the chaos. Devourer units tried to stop her, but the shuttle was small and fast. She dodged and weaved, using skills she had learned in decades of service. Ahead, the Mother's shields flickered as the Vengeance struck them. The impact was massive, tearing a hole in the defenses. Yang flew through. She was inside the Mother's shields now, approaching her exposed body. The extinction pulse was armed and ready. All she had to do was fire. But the Mother sensed her. A tentacle the size of a building swung toward the shuttle, trying to crush it. Yang pulled up hard. The tentacle missed by meters. She felt the shuttle shudder as smaller weapons fired at her, burning holes in the hull. This is Admiral Yang. She broadcast on all frequencies. To everyone in the fleet, it has been an honor serving with you. Tell Earth. Tell them I did my duty. She pressed the firing button. The extinction pulse launched from her shuttle and struck the Mother directly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Mother screamed. It was the loudest sound the galaxy had ever heard, a psychic wail of agony that swept across space. Through the unity field, every being in the fleet felt it. The Mother was dying, but she was not going quietly. In her death throes, she released everything she had left. Waves of energy swept outward, destroying Devourer units by the millions. Her body began to tear itself apart, explosions ripping through her from inside. Yang's shuttle was caught in the blast. She felt the hull disintegrate around her, felt the cold of space rush in, felt the last moments of her consciousness beginning to fade. But before darkness took her, she saw something. The Mother, crumbling. The Devourer swarm, falling silent as their connection to their source was severed. The fleet, battered but alive, watching the enemy die. They had won. Admiral Yang smiled. Then the light faded, and she was gone. The Battle of the Mother lasted only hours. Without their leader, the remaining Devourer units became mindless, attacking randomly or simply stopping altogether. The fleet destroyed them with ease. When it was over, the galaxy was quiet. For the first time in centuries, there was no Devourer threat, no looming extinction. Just stars and planets and billions of beings who had survived. On the council station, a memorial ceremony was held. Every species sent representatives. The great hall that had once been a place of scorn and rejection was now filled with mourning. High Counselor Torvan spoke first. His voice was heavy with emotion. Admiral Yang gave her life for us, he said. A human. Someone my people once called inferior. Someone I personally rejected and insulted. He paused, composing himself. She was the greatest hero this galaxy has ever known. And we did not deserve her. Sarah Chen spoke next. She was older now, her hair completely white, her face lined with years of stress and struggle. Admiral Yang was my friend, she said. She was humanity's finest warrior. But she was more than that. She was a symbol of what happens when you push people too far. They push back. She looked around the hall at the gathered representatives. 12 years ago, I stood in this room and announced that Earth was leaving the Council. I was angry. I was bitter. I believed the galaxy had nothing to offer us. She shook her head. I was wrong. What the galaxy offered us was a chance to become something greater, to rise above our pain and fight for something bigger than ourselves. The ceremony continued for hours. Representatives from every species shared stories of the war, of the sacrifices made, of the victory that had been achieved. Admiral Yang's name was spoken 1,000 times. At the end, Captain James Wright, now Admiral Wright, stood before the assembly. Admiral Yang asked me to survive, he said. She asked me to keep fighting if she failed. She did not fail, but I will keep her memory alive. He held up a medal, the highest honor the council could bestow. It had never been given to a human before. This medal will be placed in a memorial on Earth, Wright announced. Anyone who wants to pay their respects to Admiral Yang will be welcome. Human, Krell, Vexari, it does not matter. We are all one people now. The assembly rose and bowed their heads in respect. Outside, the stars shone bright and peaceful. The war was over. The Devourer were gone, and the galaxy had been changed forever. In the years that followed, the reforms that Earth had demanded were fully implemented. The Council became a true democracy, with every species having an equal voice. Trade barriers were removed. Knowledge was shared freely. The divisions that had plagued the galaxy for thousands of years began to heal. President Martinez retired and was replaced by a new leader, a young woman who had been born during the war and had grown up hearing stories of Admiral Yang's sacrifice. The Jurai, who had helped save the fleet during the Battle of the Krell homeworld, accepted full membership in the Council. Their wisdom and neutrality helped guide difficult decisions. The Mythori, who had once been humanity's fiercest critics, built the largest memorial to Admiral Yang anywhere in the galaxy. It stood on their homeworld as a reminder of how wrong they had been. And on Earth, a new holiday was declared. It was called Unity Day. Every year, people of all species gathered to remember the war and celebrate the peace that followed. Admiral James Wright lived to be very old. He spent his final years writing a history of the war, making sure that future generations would understand what had happened and why. In his final chapter, he wrote this: "When Earth left the Council, we believed we were alone. We believed we had to prove ourselves worthy of respect. But in the end, we learned something different. We learned that true strength does not come from being better than others. It comes from lifting others up. It comes from sacrifice. It comes from unity." Admiral Yang understood this better than anyone. She did not fight for glory or revenge. She fought because it was right. She died because it was necessary. And because of her sacrifice, a galaxy that had been divided for millennia found a way to stand together. That is her legacy. That is humanity's legacy. Not conquest or dominance, but cooperation. Not fear or anger, but hope. The stars are vast and cold, but when we stand together, we can warm them with our light. He set down his pen and looked out the window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, among the endless stars, Admiral Yang was watching, and she was proud.